James Himm Mitchell here, and in this video I'll be looking at our tarot cards for the week starting March the 14th, 2016. So stay tuned. And here we are with the cards on the table, and the deck assisting me for this week's reading is, I'm going old school, I'm going retro. I am using the Universal Waite Tarot by A.E. Waite and Pamela Colman Smith. Once again, that's the Universal Waite Tarot. And like I do in these weekly general readings, I'm going to take the deck, I'm going to shuffle the cards, and I'm asking the question, what do we need to know about the week ahead? Now I'm going to cut the deck into 3 piles and then put them back together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deal straight from the top. I'm going to take the first card. That's going to be the beginning of the week. The second card is going to inform us of what we can possibly experience at the middle of the week. And then the last card is going to tell us what we might expect by the week's end. So those are the cards. And now I'm going to take the deck, I'm going to turn it over. And the card here, the bottom of the deck, is what I call the foundation or the base card, and it's going to inform us of what the possible underlying energies for the week are. So now here we have the 6 of Pentacles. So the 6 of Pentacles is a card that we are being asked to look at our giving and receiving this week, because this is about the universal law. Anytime for me I see the scales on a card, and this gentleman here, the one who's in the middle, who's lavishly dressed, is holding scales. So that can represent a universal law. And so this is about the universal law of giving and receiving. And that could show up in our lives in all ways, in all different forms and fashions. But we are being asked to look at the ways in which we are giving and look at our ability to receive, because the number 6 here on the card is a number of balance. And it's about that law operating from a place of balance. You know, so we're being asked to look at, are we a giver and not a receiver, or are we always on the receiving end and not giving? How can we bring that into balance? And that happens in all ways. So, but be especially mindful of your relationships, because usually the way it works in relationships is that one person tends to be more giving and the other person tends to be more of a receiver, and neither one is good or bad, right or wrong. It just is what it is. But it's about you being able to look at your level of giving and your ability to receive. And here's the thing about it too, this card can be a law of attraction card. So one of the things that we're being asked is sometimes we want the law to work for us in terms of, we set an intention and we say, I would like to have this, or I desire this, or, you know, I want this, whatever the case may be. But the law only works in proportion to our ability to receive. And it's very interesting here because we have one person who's receiving the coins from the gentleman and the other person who is not. So that could be, you know, I call this the process of allowing. In his book, The Law of Attraction, author Michael J. Loescher, and I'll put the book and the author's name in the description box below. But he talks about this state of allowing. So sometimes we are in the flow and we are seeing proof that the law is working because we're looking at the demonstration by what's coming in. But it also works in the other way. Sometimes if we are not in the flow, if we are not getting what it is that we are intending, wanting, desiring, it may be that it's not that the law, it doesn't work. It could be that maybe we need to take a look at our ability to receive. We have to be willing to be open and receptive. And so, and you know, this is from the suit of Pentacles. So Pentacles rules the material world, so it represents material resources and our ability to be abundant. So, you know, keep that in mind too. You know, the law works in accordance to how well we are open to being abundant. And abundance shows up in all sorts of ways. We may be looking at it just like monetary, but abundance comes in all different ways. So, you know, it's about you kind of maybe looking at the idea of being abundant differently this week. So that's one aspect of it. Now to bring it down and make it a little more practical, this card can be about our financial transactions. I call this a money changing hands card. So we are maybe being asked to look at the ways in which we are spending our money. You know, where's our money going? Are we giving money maybe to charitable organizations? Are we donating our time and energy? Because it's not just about money. Those are resources too, and they are just as valuable as money. So it could be like, where are you placing your energy? Where are you placing your resources? Are you meeting a need of other people? You know, that kind of energy. Are you putting your energy and intention where people most need it? That could be another thing. Now, career-wise, the Six of Pentacles could be a card that represents, you know, getting a pay raise, getting a promotion, getting a bonus, something of that nature. So, you know, you might want to be mindful of that. And also, too, you know, as I'm speaking on that, I'm seeing this in my head is also, too, when we are paid a salary or whenever we are given money from an employer for work that's being done, sometimes the idea here, and this is a big principle to kind of maybe wrap your head around, but the idea here is that we are paid in accordance to how well we solve a problem. So this is for people who are employees in a company, an existing company, and to, now that I'm thinking about it, and self-employment, you know, if you're employed, your salary is probably in accordance to how well you are able to solve a problem or meet a need. And, you know, sometimes we just look at it in terms of dollars and cents, but that's the energy. It's an energetic exchange. Money is nothing more than an energy exchange. And so, you know, the amount of energy that you are being compensated is probably in proportion to the amount of energy you're putting into the workplace. So just kind of consider that. If you are self-employed, then it's the same thing. This card represents, on some level, meeting the needs of the people who need what it is that you have to offer. You know, it's like, are you meeting a need? Are you meeting the demand? That kind of energy. And you are only going to be paid in accordance with how well you meet the need of those that you are in a position to serve, that you want to serve. So that's a lot of energy and a lot of meaning for the Six of Pentacles, but I'm going to bring it back around to where I started. This is a week where we are being asked to look at our energy in terms of giving and receiving this week. Card at the beginning of the week is the Ten of Cups. Okay, so now the Ten of Cups is another wonderful positive card to have when it shows up in a reading. It can represent like the happily ever after in the story. So, you know, the story gets to the end and it's the part where they say, and they lived happily ever after. The Ten of Cups represents emotional satisfaction and emotional fulfillment with life. So it could be that one of the things you're being asked to consider is, you know, and I talked about this in terms of abundance, this would be emotional abundance. So it could be the idea of like being connected to your family or your friends or your spiritual community. Who are the people around you who make you feel very happy, who make you feel satisfied with life, who make you feel fulfilled? That's the kind of energy with the Ten of Cups. The Ten of Cups is also a card that talks about our spiritual growth and development. So keep that in mind. It could be that you are moving into a phase where you are completing something, because a 10 is a number of completion, that you're completing something either on an emotional or spiritual level, and that's going to bring you a sense of great satisfaction. Now, the flip side of the Ten of Cups is it warns that, you know, we could also possibly face the idea of being emotionally overwhelmed or emotionally in over our heads, that kind of energy. So it could be in the positive sense, you're being asked to look at the ways in which you are abundant emotionally. And here's the thing about this, now that I'm talking about that, going with the idea of law of attraction, the law of attraction works not just with your thoughts, but with your feelings too. So you may be asked to open up the channels of becoming more receptive, more in a position to allow yourself to receive more. It could be you may want to check your feelings and see if you need to make an adjustment there. You know, kind of look at what you already have, what makes you happy, and then let that, because they're showing me the phrase like compound interest. So let that be the interest that you compound on. But So that's the 10 of Cups. So that's a positive side. And so the other side, like I said, would be you'd be mindful of being in a state where you feel emotionally overwhelmed. Now, the other thing that I'm seeing, and this just popped into my head, the 10 of Cups can be the marriage and family card. So sometimes it comes up when we have family issues. And so with the 6 of Pentacles coming before it, it could be that either in a marriage or a partnered relationship or in a family situation, there may be issues about giving and receiving with that. I'm seeing it as like there may be a money issue, especially with family. You know, there's that expression like, you know, family and money don't mix well sometimes. And so it could be like, you know, that sense of there may be a loan that needs to be repaid or some kind of debt, some kind of money changing hands between family members. It could be about the whole idea where I said about being a giver and a receiver. It's about, especially within the marriage, like being mindful of who is playing what role and how can you come into agreement. The rainbow here is about a covenant or agreement. So how can you come into agreement more? How can you kind of balance those energies out and make them work maybe more for you rather than working against you? They say that, you know, one of the chief struggles in marriages and relationships is over money. So it could be like, you know, how are we looking at that? So it could be it could actually be money, but more along the lines I'm looking at it in terms of like the idea of you know, giving and receiving and making sure that's all in balance. And here's the thing, especially if there are children involved, because there are 2 children here on this card. If there are children involved, be mindful of that children are like little sponges. And what it is they are watching everything that you say and everything that you do. And so they are learning. Children learn from those 2 ways. They learn by the things that we as adults say around them and the things that we do as adults around them. And then they become, you know, people who model that behavior when they get to be older because they've seen it demonstrated around them when they were younger. You know, so be mindful of whatever it is that you're doing in terms of especially money, that your kids are picking that up, and they will either be people who are very mindful with money or people who not so much, you know. And so be mindful of that because you're passing that on to the next generation. So I'm seeing that. Moving to the middle of the week, we have the Knight of Cups. Okay, so now this is what's known as a court card. And so when I see a court card in a reading, I tend to look at it, especially in these general readings, as an approach that we want to consider adopting. So the Knight of Cups, he is a knight who loves love. So he is on a quest, and sometimes he's looking for his holy grail, which is the cup that he's holding. So sometimes it's a search for what is it that we're looking for. We may be happy here, and we may be looking at what's making us feel a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction, emotionally speaking, but there may be also a part of us that's still looking for that missing piece, that missing component, and that would be the Holy Grail. And so we may be on an emotional search for that. It could also be, too, that we are looking for something that's going to make us feel a deeper connection on our spiritual path. I said that the Ten of Cups was a spiritual growth card, and so it could be that we are setting out on a trek to find that thing that's going to make us feel more of a sense of connection with spirit. Now, I'm seeing this again. This card is one of the faculties that we can use is our sense of imagination. So it's about what do you imagine? He's looking to the right. So that's for me is like the future. So what do you imagine for the future? If you're in a spot where maybe you're experiencing a challenge and you want things to be better, then you're being asked this week to consider what it is that you imagine for your future and then focus on that. Nights are about focus, action, and movement. Once you become aware of what it is that you're imagining, what is it that the picture that you have in your head, then you can move forward with that. So I'm seeing that kind of energy with that as well. Yeah, and the other thing about the Knight of Cups that's coming to me in the moment is about letting love lead the way. He's all about loving what it is that he's experienced. As a matter of fact, whatever the intention is, it's like, let's say, I'm on a career path. And so it's about, being in love with the idea of the career. So that could be the thing. So making sure that you're letting the love for it lead the way. In terms of our relationships with other people, we may need to have a heart-to-heart, because I sometimes see the Knight of Cups as a person who wears his heart on his sleeve. So it could be like maybe you need to have a heart-to-heart with someone, maybe in order to move a particular relationship forward. You know, it requires a heart-to-heart conversation, that kind of energy. The other thing about the Knight of Cups for me, it's about if you are intending on taking some form of action, then this card comes up when we are being asked to make sure that we are following through on those actions. Sometimes, like I said, the Knight of Cups, he's a guy who loves the idea of something, but his lack of commitment and his lack of follow-through can sometimes be called into question. So, you know, if you're going to be intending something, if you're going to be focusing on something, if you want to move in a new direction, you have to do two things. You have to commit to it, and then you have to follow through on the commitment with the right actions. So that's the Knight of Cups in the middle of the week. And then at the end of the week, we have the World card. Oh, this is fantastic. Okay, so now the World card is a card that represents, if you go with the idea like this is a progression and he's now moving towards this, the World card represents a state of completion. It represents a success, it represents a triumph, it represents a victory. It also is two travel cards. Now we have Knights. Knights represent travel, and the World represents travel. So there may actually be an actual trip that you or somebody that you know in your circle, I'm going with this, in your circle, is embarking on. The World card can represent something having to do with a distance travel. So it wouldn't be like a short commute. It could actually be, you know, some distance involved in that. So two cards representing travel, I'm seeing that. But back to what I was saying to the World card being a card of completion. This card as a result of completion, so we have the 10, which is a number of completion here, and we have it repeated here with the World. The energy here is about, you know, as a result of this completion, as a result of this triumph, victory, success, there is a new level of awareness achieved. This card represents graduating to a new level. And so this could be, you know, taking it to the next step, that kind of energy. Now, it could also be, too, you know, there could be somebody embarking on a new career path and getting themselves out into the world with the World. And so it's about you embarking on that. How do you want to be seen? What is it that you want to be known for doing? Now, you know that I read angelic energy, so the two cards here from the Suit of Cups can represent Archangel Raphael. So there may be some element of healing taking place this week, going with that. And then the World card, if you look, the four corners here have a figure in that, and for me that represents the four archangels. It represents Gabriel, Uriel, Michael, and Raphael, because I said Raphael here. So the four angels are here, and so just know that as you're moving forward this week, as you're moving through circumstances and situations, that the angels are around you, that the angels are watching over you, that the angels are protecting you and possibly leading the way. Since I talked about travel, here's the thing, you know, when we're embarking on something new, we attract the angels who are going to be pointing the way. So you're being asked to notice the signs, pay attention to what it is that they come up, or when they appear, because those are, you know, you're getting a heads up from the angels that they are helping you this week. So these are your cards, and so now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to look at what the overall major arcana card that's going to serve as the lesson for the week, what that is. And to determine what the major arcana lesson card for the week will be, I'm going to take the 3 cards for the week. I'm going to take the 10 of Cups. I'm going to take 10 and add it to the Knight of Cups. The Knight is 12 for me, so 10 and 12 is 22. Yes, 22, and then 21 with the World, because the World card is 21. That brings our total to 43. And since it is a number over 22, because there are only 22 major arcana cards in the deck, I'm going to take the 4 and the 3, add them together, and then I get 7. And the 7th major arcana card is the Chariot. And here's the card. So when the Chariot appears, the question is about where are we going in life? What is our direction? Where are we? What is the end result? Where is the destination that we want to be? And how can we move from where we are to where we want to be? It's another travel card, so we have the theme of travel showing up in 3 different cards. So again, there may be someone, either you or somebody that you're connected to who's actually embarking on a travel. But if not, then the Chariot is asking you to consider, where are you going in life? What direction do you want to be moving in? And how can you go about maybe not going from A to Z, but how can you go from A to B? How can you get to the next step on your journey? Because the lesson here with the Chariot is not just about the destination, it's also about the journey. So you have to remember that. One of the things that I see with the Chariot, and I'm seeing it because I mentioned this with the Ten of Cups, is that this is the sign of Cancer for me, and so I sometimes see Cancer as a sign of home and family. So again, it's just bringing up that sense of there may be an issue going on with family members this week. It could be that there is a bit of being pulled in two different directions in relation to whatever a family experience is, and you're being asked to, like, how can you instead of being pulled in two different directions or being pulled by extremes, how can you kind of find the middle road or the middle path? The other thing about the Chariot is it's about being in the driver's seat. So no matter what the experience is that you are doing one or two things. Either you are in control, you are in the driver's seat, or that you need to reclaim being in the driver's seat. Sometimes is that we can take a back seat to someone else or something else, or that maybe we have allowed something that we need to be working on to take a back seat, and it's time to bring that back up to the front seat and allow that the position it needs to have in your life. And also too, if you've taken a back seat to other people, this card is asking you to consider the ways in which you can kind of regain control of your life, kind of take the steering wheel back, that kind of energy. But also to be mindful of why you're either in the back seat or in the passenger side. Why are you just going along for the ride when it's your life and you need to be the one behind the wheel? So that is the energy of the Chariot. Again, it represents being in the driver's seat. If you are embarking on something, this is a positive card. It represents getting the green light, making some progress, some forward movement, some advancement on that. But again, it's about you kind of just taking either reclaiming control or taking greater control on the direction your life is moving into. So summing up, we had at the beginning of the week, we had the Ten of Cups, and that just represents starting at the beginning of the week, looking at what it is that makes us happy, that gives us a sense of emotional satisfaction and fulfillment. It could also be a caution that be mindful of going into the week feeling a state of overwhelm, and how can you reduce that? I'm a big believer that, part of the reason for the readings is that we are being given information, so when a situation shows up, we are armed and we are prepared to handle it, because we had the information that it could show up. So that kind of energy. And also to be mindful of looking at family dynamics. Are they working for you at the beginning of the week, or are they not working? And if so, how can you kind of create a sense of a reunion or reunification, kind of bringing things to a state of completion, getting people around and working things out. The middle of the week, we have the Knight of Cups. It's about being in love with an idea and wanting to move that forward. But the big gist with this card is it's about using your faculty of imagination. What do you imagine? Where do you see yourself going in that? Where do you see things ending up? That kind of energy. And also too, like when it comes to taking the action, being committed to your process and making sure that you follow through on what it is that you intend and the action steps that you say that you're going to take, because it's a big energy with the Knight of Cups. It's about making sure that you follow through. Don't just love the idea, take some action on moving it forward. And then if you were to do that, then by the end of the week, you may have a significant triumph, victory, success. You may see some things coming full circle. You may see a major cycle or a major chapter in your life coming to an end, and coming to an end in a way that works for you. And then the last thing with the World card, it represents reaching a new level of awareness or a new level of consciousness as a result. So this has been your week in Tarot. I am James Himm Mitchell. I'm signing off, and I'm wishing you a tarot-tastic week. And until our next video together, take care.